Shabbat Shalom. I'm Rabbi Robert Barr, and I'm pleased that you're joining me and each other for this Shabbat service, a chance for us in these very challenging and hectic times to pause, to catch our breath, to reflect upon what is most important in our lives. Let the Sabbath be a time for believing in what could be and seeing with new eyes. In this serious world, let us take ourselves less seriously. In these harsh times, let us listen for a soothing word. While the world around us unfolds in an instant, let us judge each other a little more slowly. Let the Sabbath shine a light into a corner of ourselves where hope is renewed. Let us remember a reason to be joyful, a way to be gentle. Let the Sabbath be a time for opening up. Let us find strength in our dreams and trust in our strength. Again, I'm Rabbi Robert Barr of Congregation Beth Adam. That's our bricks and mortar congregation and our Jewish community, our online congregation. We've been streaming services on our Jewish community for more than a decade. We recognize that the technology, that the internet allowed us to reach and communicate with people literally around the world, to create a community, not just here in greater Cincinnati, but a community that stretched beyond the walls of our synagogue, to reach out and touch other people, to share in the experience that we were having. Since the pandemic, streaming services have become even more important. We're separated. We're sheltering at home. We're not gathering together, even here in Cincinnati. So these streaming services provide us the opportunity to know that we are part of something larger than ourselves, a community. But it is more than just the technology. It is also the voice of Judaism that we give expression to here at Congregation Beth Adam that is so important. We talk about a Judaism that is bold and dynamic. We recognize that we are not like our ancestors, that they were giving voice to their ideas, informed by what they knew. We have been changed, if you will, by history. We have been informed by new knowledge about science, things that they had no access to. And thus it becomes incumbent upon us to create a Judaism that is reflective of that. While we respect and value our ancestors, we are concerned about our descendants. What are we handing to them? That is why here at Congregation Beth Adam and our Jewish community, we have created new liturgy that gives voice to who we are and what we believe. So I'm delighted you're here sharing this service with me and with each other. You can chat during the services. You're on different platforms. Some people are on Facebook. Some people are on our website. When you chat, please let us know where you are participating from. And please remember that as you're chatting, that this is an inclusive and welcoming community. We want everyone who happens upon us or knows that we're here to feel welcomed. So leave remarks that speak to that value. Also, we recognize, too, that not everyone can watch 6 o'clock Eastern Daylight Savings Time. And remember, here in the States, Daylight Savings Time ends this coming Sunday, November 1st. So you might be watching in our archives. That's great. Whatever you watch, that's up to you. We're not here to demand that you pay, that you join us at a specific time. We recognize that our lives are more complicated and more challenging, and we want to be here when you're able to participate. So I'm delighted you're here. I am delighted that we're sharing this service together. We're going to continue now with the lighting of the Shabbat candles. Night seeps up from the ground. Light falls from the stars, distant and icy, ancient beyond all who came before. But the light of the Sabbath is warm. The light of the Sabbath is ours. The light of the Sabbath is of this time, of this place, of lives that know the past only in a dream. As we kindle these lights, we create a place of warmth. As we kindle these lights, we welcome this time for reflection. As we kindle these lights, we stake our claim. And while these lights burn, the time is ours. Baruch ha'or ba'olam, blessed is the light within the world. Baruch ha'or ba'adam, blessed is the light within each person. Baruch ha'or b'Shabbat, Blessed is the light of the Sabbath. Oh, almost. I keep on having problems with candles. Those of you who join me on a regular basis know that. I got it. It almost went out, but I made it. Tomorrow in the United States, this is our Friday night service, October 30th. Tomorrow is October 31st. And here in the United States, and I think it's worldwide, is Halloween. So Rabbi David Verstin and I had a conversation about, is it okay for Jewish kids to celebrate Halloween? Well, Rabbi Verstin, it is good to see you again. How are you doing? How is your family holding up during this pandemic?
We're doing good. We're doing good. The weather's getting a little bit colder, so people are starting to get a little more hunkered down, but we're trying to stay outside as much as humanly possible, hoping for a good weekend of weather.
Good weekend of weather because what is this weekend?
Because this weekend is Halloween here in the United States, and on my street it is a big deal. We'll see how COVID affects it. We usually do a big presentation model. This year we're doing the Marvel Universe. So
you have to explain how this works. So you live in a cul-de-sac?
I live on a cul-de-sac. I live on a cul-de-sac off a dead-end street. So there's not a lot of traffic. And so my entire cul-de-sac, we all pool our candy together and we build like a big display with a theme. We have a woman who lives on our street that used to be a set designer.
Wow.
So she has like the skill set, and we have the kid help. And so we're building the Marvel Universe, the Marvel Tower from Avengers.
Okay, the Marvel is a comic book.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
For those of us, I know. Some of us don't.
That's right. It's the Avengers, which is a movie series. It started out as a comic book superheroes. We've done Charlie and the Chocolate Factory before. We've done Hamilton. We've done Greatest Showman. It depends on the year and who has the vote. This year, the two little boys next door had the vote. So
okay, but I do need to ask. You're a rabbi, and you know as well as I that amongst some of our colleagues and in some of the movements, the notion of Halloween is, for some, it is frowned upon. The Jews shouldn't be celebrating it, and some of it's sort of uncomfortable with it. I mean, clearly you're not uncomfortable with Halloween. I think we should probably talk about a little bit why some people think Jews shouldn't be celebrating Halloween at all.
Right. I mean, I think one of the bases is that Jews should not be celebrating idolatrous traditions of other people. So, I mean, Halloween in its traditional sense probably came from the pagan origins, Samhain, which is like a festival where the devil would be cast out or would be kind of moved aside, and so you would scare it off. Mm-hmm. I think that this kind of challenge for a lot of, especially more traditionally ritually based Jews, that this is a pagan holiday, thus they can't do it, is a challenge to me personally. Because a lot of what we do is based in our roots, historical roots coming from an earth-based religion, which was a traditionally ancient Judaism. And we've learned through modernity that some of the traditions that they practiced were just myth and playing out of different festivals, and they were taken a lot from the pagan. I mean, you can look at all our holidays. Hanukkah, which is a holiday that we celebrate in the winter, is centered around the winter solstice.
Right.
As is Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think if we start cutting away the pagan, especially these ritually based Jews, if they start cutting away the pagan holidays or holidays that were influenced by pagan traditions, I think they would have a very short list of things that they would be doing.
Right. What's interesting, they're willing to celebrate some that have pagan roots, but not Halloween, given that it's never it hasn't been assimilated into Judaism.
I mean, you just did a program on Sukkot for adult education that talks about Sukkot, which is our holiday that is celebrated in the Harvest Festival, was really an earth-based fertility experience.
Right.
A lot of the things, the shaking of the lulav, the palm fronds, and et cetera, is about, the phallus. And there's so many things that we kind of like have realized that that's the way it was done then. And then, and especially in the United States, many of these religious holidays, quote unquote holidays, become secularized, where it's just, I mean, Halloween is really about for me is about letting my kids dress up in costumes and having fun and being together as a neighborhood. Get to see my neighbors, like especially if they bring their kids around. It's a time for kids just to have a really good time and play without judgment. Usually,
Right.
We're always excited to see what costume you have.
And certainly in your neighborhood, it's about community and neighborhood.
Absolutely. I mean, we put out a big fire pit, and so people gather around.
Wow.
And sit and talk. I mean, this year's going to be different, obviously, with COVID. We're trying to figure out ways to transfer candy from us to the kids without having everybody pile on it at once. So it's part of our detailed plan of maybe making a candy pipe that you can just shoots candy down.
Now you should go back to Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Exactly.
I think that probably would have been
better off.
Right. I think this notion of not celebrating the holiday, and because I was reading a couple articles before we started talking, Purim's around the corner, kids can dress up for that, as if somehow if they celebrate Halloween, it's going to diminish their Jewish identity. I think we're living in a time where identity is much more nuanced than it's ever been. And for those people who are worried about kids celebrating Halloween, most kids don't know its origins. Hell, most adults don't know its origin. Right. It's not something common. We don't think about Satan anymore. We don't devil worship as where it came from. But I think this notion that somehow kids celebrating Halloween and adults and doing what you're doing is somehow going to diminish or lessen a child or a family's Jewish identity. I just don't understand it, or somehow harm their Jewish identity. Doesn't make sense to me.
Right. Well, I think it minimizes the effect of Jewish identity in general, right? Like if Jewish identity is an open kind of source thing where you have many different parts of your family. Let's use families. Like you have many different family members who celebrate different things, and we can bring everybody together around this kind of holiday that has become fun and playful, similar to Thanksgiving. And to be very honest, as in our congregation, as in many congregations, we have families that celebrate both Hanukkah and Christmas, both of which have become very secular holidays for the most part, but also are holidays where people feel comfortable kind of fluidly moving between both of these things. So a holiday like Halloween seems to be putting a lot of emphasis on that, of if they get a taste of this pagan holiday, that they're not going to want to be Jewish. And that I just find that misguided in some ways, because I think Judaism has so much to offer in modernity and the way we can engage with rituals in modern times, understanding the worlds of modern science. I mean, the idea of Santa's sleigh going around the world, and whatever that is. I love when during Christmas time when they take a look at the tracker, they're kind of showing the scientific part of it. But I mean, these are playful holidays that are made for kids. Because the fact that we dress up in costumes for Purim makes no sense either. It's there are lots of teachings about it, but I mean it's really a holiday that's much deeper and much darker, that we've kind of taken and made into a kid's holiday, which is similar to Halloween, I guess. Right.
I suppose too. I think this notion that we're worried if celebrating Halloween is going to draw a child out of Judaism, then Judaism doesn't have a lot to offer.
That's exactly right.
I mean that's another problem. I mean, when you read this stuff, we got to worry about. It's really. I mean, this is and it has become secular holiday. Certainly, it's become a commercial holiday. One could maybe argue the commercialism of it or the candy of it maybe is a little bit overdone, but maybe put some of that in check. You should all brush your teeth and make sure the kids brush their teeth real well.
My friends who are dentists love this holiday. So.
Right. Yeah, my dad was a dentist, so it holds a special place in my heart, and I love candy. But I think I read this and I keep on going. Is Judaism so fragile at this point? That a playful holiday that really the roots of which have been long since lost. Maybe there are a few people in the pagan who celebrate pagan holidays and see some ties to it, but for most of it, it is so detached. Just like to me, it would be like telling kids and I guess some people don't celebrate Valentine's Day, because it also had originally non-Jewish roots. I mean, at what point, or St. Patrick's Day? I mean, any of these holidays that have become part of the sort of the cultural experience that we're all living in. If we're that worried, if people are that worried that the Jewish community somehow participating, or Jewish kids participating, will go, they'll all of a sudden slap their heads and go, "Oh, why am I Jewish?" I think we got I think we have a serious problem.
No, I think you're right, and I think about that a lot when we're developing programming for our village. Like, that Judaism is exciting and vibrant and has many ways of exploring the world, and to say, well, we don't want to talk about Christmas, or we don't want to talk about solstice, or like, it seems to be a very low bar for me of what Judaism can offer. There's so much there. Mm-hmm. And there's so much there, and it's interesting, like this idea of omission, like of like, we don't want people to do something because they're going to be tricked, or because they're going to be whatever. I mean, there's a lot of play in stuff in the Torah about that, in the legends of the Torah, about mixing different types of grains, and for Passover you're not supposed to eat certain things because it might be something else. Like, at a certain point you have to be like, okay, like, Judaism has enough to offer that we don't have to be scared of Halloween. Right.
And it's more than, and what it has to offer is more than holidays. I mean, right. and certainly what we're trying to do, we're moving beyond what our ancestors taught us about what Jewish identity can be, and talking about values about, informed by science I believe is a Jewish value, informed by data, informed by the best thinking of an age. That is what I believe Judaism is taught, taking responsibility for the future as individuals and as a collective, as a group, working together to make society better. Those are the things that we need to be talking about. And I think the idea of community is a wonderful thing. That your neighborhood comes together and does something and celebrates a sense of togetherness, a sense of closeness, parents and families being able to be together, celebrating together, being joyful together. That's wonderful, and we should be able to do that, and we should be able to enjoy that as individuals, as Jews, and not somehow be afraid of it.
No, and I think that, like, the prep for this takes like a week, and the kids are out on the lawn painting different cardboard boxes, and we all share electricity because there's a lot of lights and all this sort of stuff. And I think that it makes for a really wonderful way of celebrating something. And it's like, to be honest, there's a lot of concern about COVID, right? Like, we don't want kids to get COVID, but it's like a perfect holiday. Everybody's wearing a mask anyways, usually. And if we keep distance, it's a chance for everybody to get outside and see each other.
Well, particularly this year, I think holiday, I mean, it's not strangely, but I think particularly this year, Halloween may have a different role than in years past. It may become even somehow more important, particularly if more people modeled what they were doing on what you were doing, rather than just kids going door to door, where groups of people work together and try to figure out protocols that can be followed, that people can at least see each other. Because, I mean, winter is coming, it's going to be dark, where most of us are going to stay inside. Maybe the kids will go out and play in the snow. But I think it's going to be a challenging time. And the sense of community right now, and reaffirming that there's great value.
Right. And I'm borrowing the hand sanitizer from the temple, like the machine, so the kids can put their hands underneath it, and I think it's just about creativity at this time. And I think our country right now needs it for lots of different reasons. I mean, its juxtaposition with our election is fascinating to me, that, our political election is going to be on the Tuesday after Halloween, which is, it's wild. First of all, it's wild that it's already November almost.
Right.
I have yet to get my head around that. But I think there's something really exciting about, this holiday of silliness being before our election.
Well, I think that's sort of, too, because I mean, I think also it becomes, what does Halloween celebrate? And it is about creativity and silliness and joyful. And, it really is a holiday that's a lot more fun when you have kids. Yeah. I mean, I guess young adults for a while, it was after I had grown up, young adults for a while seem to be celebrating the holiday. But I don't know it's a young adult holiday anymore either. Adults dressing a costume.
Holiday. I mean, in my town, there are certain houses you go to, you might get a beer handed to you in your bag, as you're going along. So it's, I mean, who knows what's going on, but I think that it's also a way of seeing your neighbors. When you go door to door with your kids, like you get to see your neighbors, and depending on how much candy your kids want, it could be a lot of your neighbors.
Right. And I think there's something, what as you were talking about that, it also says we don't live in specifically Jewish neighborhoods anymore.
Right.
So, I was thinking some rabbi might say, well, you can do shlach manos, which is going out and giving gifts during the holiday of Purim. You would leave things on somebody's door. But the reality is that would be only to people, typically it would be Jewish people to Jewish people, because most people wouldn't recognize, what are you giving me and this holiday of Purim? What is that? But this is about, we're part of a multicultural society, and being able to celebrate this holiday and connect with all our neighbors via this holiday of passing out candy to kids is an affirmation of what it means to live in community. Particularly, I think we're living a polarized time. This hopefully this will be a non-polarized Halloween experience, where it's about, we're neighbors, we live near each other, we celebrate. Our kids while there are individual responsibilities, there is a sense of, we want to make sure all our kids in our neighborhoods are taken care of and are celebrated and are safe.
And it's a universal holiday, right? Like, so Muslim kids and Christian kids and Jewish kids and Hindu kids, it's not a holiday that's theirs, right? It's not a holiday that belongs to them, so it belongs to everybody.
Right.
Which means that it's not loaded. You're not trying to, I often remember being one of the only Jewish kids in my neighborhood and having to explain the Jewish holidays to my friends. They're like, you eat matzah, like what, or whatever that is. And this one you don't have to explain, because everybody's on neutral territory unless you have a Satanist living in your neighborhood, which is a whole other set of issues. But
it's that conversation. Not there's anything wrong, but it's a different. There's just not a lot of pagans. I mean, there's some, but not a lot. And so it doesn't really come up as somebody's holiday, which they may be bothered by.
Neutrality, which is nice.
Right. And though there are some fundamentalist groups, whether I've seen Christian tractates against Halloween as well. I'm guessing there are probably some Muslim tractates against it. But for the most part, most people who are in the non-fundamentalist, non-hyper-religious part of their religious identity can enjoy it and have fun with it. Right. And I think there's value in having fun with something that we can all do together, that we don't feel afraid of it, and that we don't have to explain it. And we recognize it, and we can enjoy it together.
Yeah, and I think that in the fundamentalist circles, it's hard to understand how a quote unquote ritual or tradition could become secularized, can become like not loaded for people. And I think that's one of the challenges. I mean, I had friends growing up who were evangelical, and they would go to their church and just walk around, and they get candy within their church for something else,
because that
be outside, in this satanic night.
Yeah, in that same sense, and so for us as part of Beth Adam, and the Judaism that we affirm, that's a bold Judaism, a dynamic Judaism that feels that this will not impinge upon a child's identity. But more than that, it's not about just that it will do them harm. There is positives that come out of this, and we should find that and celebrate it. We're part of a multicultural community, and we should celebrate that and teach our children to value that and be part of it rather than trying to shy away from it and hide from it.
Absolutely. Especially, as you said, in these times where there's so much that's polarizing our country and our spaces, that it's nice to have something that we can all share together.
Well, that's great. I want you to have a great, and are you dressing up as which one of the Marvel?
I was supposed to, my costume hasn't got here yet. I'm supposed to dress up like Thanos, who's the overlord of the evil guy. I don't like playing the evil character, but when my daughter tells me I have to dress up like something, I'm like, okay.
Okay.
Well, you'll happen. If not, I'm just going to be running the show.
Just running the show, or you'll be a nice Thanos,
I'll be a nice Thanos. Yeah,
you'll repent.
It changes the whole back end of those movies, but yeah,
you'll repent.
I'll have repented.
You'll repented and be kind.
On Yom Kippur, I repented, so I'm ready for a good Halloween.
Well, that's great. Well, be safe. Have a great time. Hopefully, you have good candy out. And
I know the candies that you like, so I'll make sure that I put them aside.
Okay. Thanks so much. Be well and be safe. when you're out there. Be careful and look both ways when you cross the street.
I will, absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks. So as you can tell, Rabbi Verstin and I feel it is more than okay to celebrate Halloween, that there is value in it. There's a sense of community. I hope if you celebrate Halloween, and I know this year will be incredibly different because of the pandemic, that you keep a safe distances and you do all the protocols that are necessary to keep us all healthy. And understand perhaps that you won't be able to celebrate it at all. But maybe you'll go out and buy a bag of candy as an affirmation that this would have been the time we would have been celebrating Halloween. Whatever you do, be safe, stay healthy, make sure you brush your teeth as well. My dad was a dentist. And we continue our service with the sharing of the virtual challah. We share our virtual challah and wine as an affirmation that we are part of a community, that we're part of something larger than ourselves. From the earth, a seed harbored in darkness, from heat and cold and wet and dry, to wind and air and rain. Golden ground, flour from wheat, with water and yeast active and alive. Always something saved. From the earth, sweetness and salt. From nature tamed, oil and eggs, mixed and rested in darkness and warmth, kneaded smooth, made right by touch, hands that shape, mouths that want, from the earth, our challah, our warmth. Baruch Amal Kapenu, blessed is the work of our hands. Baruch Hazon Adam, blessed is the vision of our minds. Baruch Lechem Haaretz, blessed is the bread of the earth. And then if you have some wine or some juice, join with me. We lift the cup together, a tribute to our past, a blessing for our future. May the allure of its untold flavors beckon us forever to keep uncovering new branches, new roots that hold us together. Tonight, as we welcome the Sabbath, may we find time to spend in our own quiet company and listen to the calling of our hearts. Bruchim chachayim ba'olam, blessed is the life within the world. Bruchim chachayim ba'adam, blessed is the life within us. And so we say, l'chaim, to life. Again, I'm pleased that we were able to share this time together. I hope that you join me and each other next Shabbat as well, next week at 6 o'clock for our services. You can always go to bethadam.org, and each week in our calendar, you'll see streaming services, and I put what our conversation will be. So I hope you join us. You can also go to bethadam.org. You can hear my podcast, and you can see many of the materials, educational materials that we have posted online. So I'm glad that you're here. Be safe, be well tomorrow if you're celebrating Halloween. And we end with the words we end with each week. May we know blessings those who are near. May we know blessings those who are far. May the Sabbath bring its goodness to everyone soon, wherever they are. Shabbat Shalom.